What's up, everyone? We're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now, don't forget to like this video, as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video, clicking that button down below. And if we get 550 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 20 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now, a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong and got 20 right, which is a 95% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 95% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 95% win rate and get 20 picks right like me, win more bets, and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be a link down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $375 just yesterday. Another member who won $280 for the 5th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel, the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Lee Henderson, OTM25LA, who said, "I appreciate all the support, man. You don't know how much you help me. Keep up the good work and let's cash out today." So shouts out to him, and I'm glad he's able to get those W's. And speaking of W's, shouts out to Jason Morris Pollard Sr., who spammed up the W, and shouts out to LC Jones KD1LF, who said, "You helped me win tonight." So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this one and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. So let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're talking about is Kentavious, and this one is for 8 rebounds and assists. So this one's a combo one, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Con, we actually have seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on January 4th, faced off against Chicago Bulls, actually had 6 rebounds and assists there. January 6th, faced off against Oklahoma City Thunder, had 10 rebounds and assists. January 8th, faced off against Toronto, had 11 rebounds and assists. Then January 9th, faced off against Indiana Pacers, had 11 rebounds and assists. Then 6 rebounds and assists against Utah Jazz on January 11th. So really interesting to see. Obviously, looking at Con, we have seen him, as I mentioned, go on the under in 2 out of the last 5, but his average over the last 5 is also 8.8. Now, coming into this matchup, we do also know that Charlotte Hornets do have themselves a very good matchup against none other than the LA Clippers. So it is going to be an exciting game between both of these teams, but looking at where both of these teams do lie, starting off with the Charlotte Hornets, Charlotte have definitely struggled just a little bit so far this season because they actually come in, at the actual 12th spot, as we mentioned, but also have a record of 14 wins and 25 losses. So very interesting to see from them. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know when it actually comes to them that they have a 35.9% win percentage, 7-12 from home, 7-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very interesting to see there. Now, looking at their matchup, they do face off against none other than the Clippers, who also have struggled just a little bit this season because they actually come in at the 11th spot in the Western Conference, and they have a record of 15 wins and 23 losses. So that's a 39.5% win percentage there. They're also 9-9 from home, 6-14 from away, and are currently on a 2-game win streak. So very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at someone or looking at a team like Clippers and also Charlotte, both are definitely trying their best to see if they can, continue and push into a playoff spot. So looking at, however, obviously we are looking at Kentavious when it comes to rebounds and assists. So looking at LA Clippers and where they do rank when it comes to rebounds and assists allowed. Starting off with assists allowed, we do see when it comes to the LA Clippers, we see that they rank 11th, actually allowing 25.9 assists per game. So they do actually rank very well there. On top of that, when it comes to rebounds allowed, they also rank very well, actually coming in at the 8th spot, only allowing 42.4 rebounds per game. So Although LA Clippers do definitely struggle at winning games, when it comes to a defensive side of things and looking at actually, where Knuppel is going to lie, we definitely do like him for the under due to the fact that Clippers have shown time and time again that they do a fantastic job at restricting rebounds and assists to teams. Now, they also do a fantastic job at actually restricting, rebounds and assists to, Con's position as well. So it definitely does work out in our favor there. But for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for this one. Now, when we also look at, the matchup between Charlotte and Clippers, Charlotte are a little bit of a faster paced team, but what we are expecting is that LA Clippers are going to do their best, and it's one of the reasons why they do rank so high in restricting rebounds and assists, but we are expecting them to really slow down this game and slow down the pace tremendously. As we've always mentioned, slower pace leads to less volume, and less volume leads to less opportunity to rebound and assist in this space. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for it. Now, looking at what the pros do actually have to say about it, but we do see, obviously, for rebounds and assists, we do see when it comes to this line that, the pros do have him for a little bit of a different line. They have him for 7.5 while we have him for 8. So it is a little bit different and difficult to actually go off, obviously, when it comes to what the bookies are saying. But when we look at the projection as well, they have him projected for 8.1. So we are actually going a little bit against the projection here, because we do very much like the under for this situation. So definitely keep an eye out for the under for this one. Now, when we look at his last 15 games, we've actually seen him go on the under more than he's gone on the over. He's actually gone on the under in actually 55% of those games, or roughly 55%. So we definitely see that being enough, and seeing someone like Con go on the under here. With all those things being said, we definitely are thinking that coming into this matchup, Con will definitely struggle, especially against a Clippers defense. So Knuppel, 8 rebounds and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about VJ Edgecombe, and this one is for 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists, or PRA, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at VJ, we actually have seen him go on the over in 4 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, we see on January 4th, faced off against the New York Knicks, had 32 points, rebounds, and assists there. January 6th, faced off against Denver Nuggets, had 34 PRA. Then January 8th, faced off against Washington Wizards, had a 26 PRA, then a 22 PRA against Orlando Magic on January 10th. Then January 12th, faced off against Toronto Raptors and had a 25 PRA there. So very, very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at someone like VJ Edgecombe, we have seen him go on the over quite consistently, and we do like the over coming into this next one. We also do see, even the time he did miss this line, he got very, very close, which shows that his consistency does remain very steady. Now, looking at this matchup, we have seen him on the average over the last 5. He's actually done a great job averaging 27.8, so fantastic job there. And Philadelphia 76ers find themselves in a really good matchup against the Toronto Raptors. Now, looking at both of these teams, we start off with 76ers. 76ers have been doing great so far, and they find themselves at the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 21 wins and 16 losses. That's a 56.8% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 10-9 from home, 11-7 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. Now, looking at their matchup, which is Toronto Raptors, Raptors have also done a very good job as well, and they are pretty close because they come in at the actual 4th spot in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 24 wins and 16 losses. So that's a 60% win percentage there. On top of that, we also do see they are 13-8 from home, 11-8 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see there. But looking at this matchup and looking at where Toronto Raptors do rank defensively, obviously starting off with points allowed, we do see that Toronto Raptors do come in at an interesting spot as they do rank 6th, allowing 112.3 points per game. Now, looking at assists allowed, we see that Raptors rank 3rd, actually allowing 24.4 assists per game. And then rebounds allowed, we also do see that the Raptors come in at the 14th spot and allow 43.9 rebounds per game. So when we actually look at, obviously Toronto Raptors, they actually do a pretty good job at actually, I would say, restricting points, rebounds, and assists. So why do we actually like the over for this situation, however? Now, a big reason being is that when we actually look at VJ Edgecombe and also specifically, his position, we see he's a guard and see that Toronto Raptors actually do struggle quite a lot at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the guard position. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the over for this situation here for someone like VJ Edgecombe, as we definitely have seen him do a fantastic job over the last 5 as well, and his usage rate has definitely been very, very high. Now, this definitely relates because when we actually look at his most recent matchup, it was actually against Toronto Raptors. So we are expecting a similar sort of situation coming into this game that we saw there. Now, when we also look at, obviously VJ Edgecombe and also what the pros do have to say about it. Now, we have him for points, rebounds, and assists. Now, it is a little bit of a different line, and I know this definitely does or is kind of the case, on frequent. But what we actually do see is that it definitely does help us in our favor because obviously we like the over, and the fact that we are getting him at a greater line in PrizePicks, I think is fantastic to see. But obviously looking at the bookies, it is a little bit difficult to go off with, or kind of compare with what the bookies are going with because it is a different line there. But looking more in depth and looking at actually, where they do have him when it comes to projection wise, they have him projected for 24.6 points, rebounds, and assists. Now it does say here under because the line is at 25.5, but for us, this is technically on the over because we have him for 24.6 as well. So 24.5, sorry. So that is technically on the over. So we are actually agreeing with the projection there. And coming into this matchup, we do very, very much like the over for it. Now we look at his last 15 games. He's actually done a fantastic job. We do see that he's gone on the over in 66% of those games, or pretty much 67. So he's definitely shown time and time again that his usage rate is very high. And as I mentioned before, that most recent game against Toronto, he's done it there, and we are expecting him to do it once again coming into this next matchup for sure. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the over for VJ Edgecombe. So VJ Edgecombe, 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists for more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than Bryce Sensabaugh. Now this one is for 17.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and this one is for more. Now looking at Bryce, we actually have seen him go on the over in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those 5 games, you see on January 4th, faced off against the Golden State Warriors, had 16 points, rebounds, and assists there. On January 6th, faced off against Portland Trail Blazers, had 17 points, rebounds, and assists, or PRA. Then a 19 PRA against Oklahoma City Thunder on January 8th. And January 9th, faced off against Dallas Mavericks, had 22 PRA. And January 11th, faced off against Charlotte Hornets and had a 29 PRA there. So we actually have seen Bryce go on the over in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at Utah Jazz, they have themselves a very, very good matchup against none other than the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now before we get into the matchups, I do also want to mention that his average over the last 5 is 20.6. So it is on the over as well there. But looking at this matchup, we do also know that Utah Jazz, where both these teams do rank, starting off with Utah come in at the 13th spot in the Western Conference, and they have a record of 13 wins and 25 losses. That's a 34.2% win percentage there. They're 9-12 from home, 4-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now they face off against Cleveland Cavaliers, where Cleveland are in a little bit of a different situation because they are in a different conference, but they actually have a record of 22 wins, 18 losses. That puts them in the 7th spot in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of that puts them at a win percentage of 55.0%. So we also see that they are 14-9 from home, 8-9 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. And although a lot of people thought Cleveland would do a lot better, they are still doing pretty decent, as they are in a pretty good position for sure. But looking at this matchup, we do also see when it comes to this one, we do also know that, Cleveland, where they do rank defensively, this is definitely going to be interesting because we see that Cleveland Cavaliers do rank when it comes to points allowed. They actually rank 21st. So we actually do see that they do allow a lot of points, which is them allowing 117.6 points per game. When we look at assists allowed, we see that the Cavaliers do come in at the 19th spot, allowing 27.3 assists per game. And then rebounds allowed, we also do see that Cleveland Cavaliers rank 20th, allowing 44.8 rebounds per game. So obviously by that, we do see that Cleveland do actually struggle at defense. I don't think this Cleveland team hasn't really been able to get going on what they've been able to try to produce, because they have struggled quite a little bit at times for sure. But coming into this next one, we are definitely very much liking the over for it, because Cleveland do very much struggle at restricting points, rebounds, and assists. Now, when we look further and also look deeper, we also do see that they do struggle at restricting those three categories to the actual forward position as well. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the over for this situation here. Now, for someone like a Bryce as well coming into this matchup, we aren't really expecting Cleveland to slow them down quite a lot. And this was definitely some of the things that people were thinking were going to happen. But we actually do see Utah, especially with slower paced teams, they actually speed up slower paced teams. So we are expecting Cleveland to actually come up to Utah's pace. So the pace is definitely going to be there. Utah like to push the ball, as I mentioned. And as we've always said before, faster pace leads to more volume, and more volume leads to more opportunity to score, rebound, and play make. So coming into this next one, it is definitely going to be an interesting one. Now, looking at actually, obviously, Bryce in this matchup, we also do see when it comes to the pros what they do have him at. So obviously, points, rebounds, and assists, we have him for a pretty good line, as we have him for 17.5. Now, they actually have him for 18.5, so it is a little bit of a different line there. So hard to go off what the bookies are saying, but when we look at the projection, they have it projected for 15. So it is a little bit of a different line there, obviously. Now, looking at that, we are going against that projection, and are going a little bit against the grain here. But when we look at his average over the last 15, we have seen him actually go on the over in 60% of those games. So it's definitely obvious that Bryce's usage rate has definitely increased as the season has gone on. And for this matchup, especially against a Cleveland team that do a poor job at restricting points, at restricting rebounds, and restricting assists, and go on the over here. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the over for this one for someone like Bryce Sensabaugh coming into this game. We have seen him do a fantastic job, and we should see him do a fantastic job once again with a high volume game. So Bryce Sensabaugh, 18.5 points, rebounds, and assists for more, I think is a fantastic pick. Getting into the next one, we're actually going to be talking about Joel Embiid. So Joel Embiid, great player. This one is for 27.5 points and assists, so another combo one. And this one actually is for more. Now, looking at Joel Embiid, we have seen him go on the over in 4 out of the last 5 games. Now, this one's an interesting one because we do actually see January 2nd faced off against the Dallas Mavericks, had 28 points and assists there. Then January 4th faced off against the New York Knicks, had 31 points and assists in that matchup. Then January 6th faced off against Denver Nuggets, had 34 points and assists. Then 30 points and assists on Washington Wizards on January 8th. And then January 10th faced off against Orlando Magic and had 25 points and assists there. So very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at someone like Joel Embiid, we have seen him, do a fantastic job in those most recent games. So we definitely see him doing a fantastic job coming into this next one. But his average over the last 5 is also 29.6. So it is significantly above this line, which I think is great to see there. Now, looking at this matchup, we do know that Philadelphia 76ers face off against none other than Toronto Raptors. Now, we have touched on this matchup before, but just quickly remind you again, Philadelphia 76ers come in at the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference. They've done a great job actually having 21 wins and 16 losses. That's a 56.8% win percentage there. 10-9 from home, 11-7 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So definitely a little bit tough in that most recent matchup. And they face off against the Raptors, who are ranking very close as they come in at the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 24 wins and 16 losses. So that's a 60% win percentage there. They're 13-8 from home, 11-8 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now, coming into this matchup, it is definitely going to be an exciting one, but what we also do know between these teams, looking at where Toronto Raptors do rank defensively. Now, starting off with actually, points, we do see that Toronto Raptors come in at the 6th spot when it comes to points allowed. They actually allow 112.3 points per game. So they actually do a pretty decent job at restricting points. On top of that, when we also look at assists allowed, we do see that Raptors rank 3rd, only allowing 24.4 assists per game. So why do we like the over for this situation? And this definitely just comes down to when we actually look on a per position basis, we do see that Toronto Raptors do really struggle against a center position. Now, Joel Embiid usually does play center, and that's why coming into this next matchup, we do very, very much like the over for it, because you definitely see someone like Joel Embiid being able to take advantage of Toronto's poor defense and be able to go on the over here. Now, when we look at this matchup as well between both of these teams, we do also know when it comes to Toronto, we are expecting their defense to be pretty poor, as although Joel Embiid didn't actually play, in that most recent game where they faced off against Toronto, while the other pick that we talked about, which was VJ Edgecombe, he actually played against them. We are expecting coming into this next matchup, Joel Embiid, even though he didn't play in that game, we aren't expecting Toronto to really have answers for, someone like Embiid. So, for that reason, we are definitely expecting the over for someone like Joel coming into this game. Joel's usage rate does remain very, very high, which is what we like to see as well, because we definitely do see, no matter kind of the offense or the defense or any of these external factors, we tend to see Embiid's usage rate remain very steady and remain very high as well. Now, when we actually look at Joel Embiid and facing off against Toronto Raptors, while some other players have faced off against Raptors recently, as we mentioned with VJ, we do see Joel's last time facing off against them was actually last year. Now, it was still with this season as well, so that's pretty good to see there. But he actually had 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in that matchup. So he actually did a fantastic job during that game. Absolutely obliterated it. I do believe Joel Embiid just being such a high caliber player is definitely a big factor to it. There really is no one that can stop Joel Embiid when he gets going. And the fact that Toronto do struggle against centers, unfortunately, we definitely see Embiid being able to take advantage of this and go on the over here. But he had himself a game there, as I mentioned. And when you add the two together, points and assists, since this was the combo, he is actually at 33. So significantly on the over compared to his line right now. So we should see him do the same what he did in the last matchup in this one. So for that reason, Joel Embiid, 27.5 points and assists, 4 more, I think is a fantastic pick.